J-Hova, one of the longest running team sports championships in the United States, has been the World Series of Major League Baseball. Since its beginning in 1902, the champions of the American League and National League have faced off against one another annually, with the exceptions of 1904 and 1994. With there being so many champions, people have often wondered who could have won some of those times. So I thought I would share with you my thoughts on some of the teams who I thought could have won the annual Fall Classic. Now, there are a few things that I should go over before we get started. First, since I'm not a total baseball historian, my choices are going to be limited to within the past 25 plus years. Also, there will only be one franchise per selection. That means that each selection here will be represented by a different franchise, with one particular team in each selection. Finally, all of the teams on this list, with the exception of two, are teams that actually made it to the World Series. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and show some love to those teams who fell just a little short of winning it all. Here's my list of teams that I thought could have won the World Series. Before I begin the top 10, here is one honorable mention to be included here. The 2008 Tampa Bay Rays. After making a complete rebranding of their franchise, turning from the Devil Rays to the Rays, and just changing everything about themselves, this team made an astounding run, not only winning the AL East and also the AL Championship Series, to go all the way to the World Series for the first time in their franchise's history. Unfortunately, they ended up losing to the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series, but still, that was just an epic run that I was impressed with. Number 10, the 2000 New York Mets. The first World Series matchup between two teams from the New York metropolitan area since 1956. It was a matchup that many New Yorkers have waited to see for a long time. And to see this was one of the best Mets teams that I have ever seen put together, for them to face off against a perennial powerhouse in the Yankees, I mean, that was just epic in so many ways. However, the Yankees would go on to win their third straight World Series championship, but still, I had to give credit to the New York Mets from the year 2000. Number 9, the 2006 Detroit Tigers. When I saw the way the Tigers advanced their way into the World Series with a win against the Oakland A's in the ALCS, with a walk-off 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 outs, I just felt they were going to be able to win it all. Then they came up against the St. Louis Cardinals, and that was it. But I have to say, for the Tigers, this was the best finish they had since the mid-'80s. And since then, they have been a perennial powerhouse to contend with in the AL. So that's why I had to give some love here to the '06 Detroit Tigers. Number 8, the 2007 Colorado Rockies. This team won the last 11 games of the regular season to finish tied for the NL wild card. And then after winning the wild card tiebreaker, they swept their way through the National League playoffs. And they ended up losing, getting swept in fact, by the Boston Red Sox in the World Series, in the franchise's first World Series appearance. And just to think that the way this team finished their season, went through the NL playoffs, I had to put this team on here just for those facts alone. Number 7, the 2002 San Francisco Giants. In this All-California World Series, which was also the first World Series matchup between two wildcard teams, the Giants, with Barry Bonds on that team, were so close to winning it all. They had a 3-2 series lead in going into Game 6 and led Game 6 5-0 in the 7th inning. It looked like it was going to be all for the Giants. And then the Anaheim Angels mounted a comeback in the 7th and 8th innings to take Game 6 and to eventually take Game 7 to win it all. That was just wow. So that's why I had to put on here the 2002 San Francisco Giants. Number 6, the 2011 Texas Rangers. This was the Rangers' second consecutive trip to the World Series, and also the closest the franchise ever came. The closest they came to winning it all. And they were up against a very good St. Louis Cardinals team. And the fact was the Rangers were so close. So close. They were only one strikeout away in Game 6 to winning it all. And not only did they blow it once, they blew it twice in Game 6. Not only did they have two strikes, one strikeout away. They were one strikeout away, not once, but twice from winning it all. And they ended up losing it in the 10th in Game 6. And then lost the entire series in Game 7. It was just it was so heart-wrenching that it was just so heart-wrenching to see. That's why the 2011 Texas Rangers deserve this spot here on this list. Number 5, the 1997 Cleveland Indians. This team also made it to their second consecutive World Series appearance, this time taking on the Florida Marlins. This was an awesome 7-game series. Going into the series, it felt like the Indians were the heavy favorites to win it all up against a Marlins team in their first ever postseason appearance. and this series went all the way to a Game 7. The Indians were only 2 outs away from winning it all. And then this team became the first team in Major League Baseball history to take a lead going into the 9th inning and then lose the series in the 10th inning. My goodness, they were only 2 outs away. That's why I had to put the 97 Cleveland Indians here on this list. Now for my next few selections, I'm going to focus on 1 year in particular. I'm focusing on this 1 year in particular because I felt, to me, this was one of the greatest Major League postseasons ever. And I still believe it's still one of the best ever. Number 4, the 2003 Chicago Cubs. This was the last time the Cubs were close to even getting back into the World Series. After taking a 3-2 series lead against the Florida Marlins in the NLCS, with the last 2 games of the series at home, it looked like it was all set up for Chicago to get back to the World Series. But then in the 8th inning of Game 6, a fan would interfere with a possible fly ball catch in left field. This incident became known as the Bartman incident, and it felt like it left the Cubs cursed. The Cubs were already considered cursed going into this, and so far it has continued to keep going on. Because after that, the Marlins would go on to add 8 runs in the 8th inning to win that game and then win the series in 7. So that's why I had to put the Chicago Cubs from 2003 on this list. Number 3, the 2003 Boston Red Sox. In an evenly matched ALCS, the Yanks and the Sox played one of the best ALCS series in years. The series came down to a Game 7 for the ages. The Sox took a 4-0 lead in the 4th inning, and then the Yankees made a comeback to knot it up all together at 5 going into the 9th inning. Then in the bottom of the 11th inning, the series ended on a walk-off. First pitch home run. My goodness, that was just amazing to see. And I was just still left in shock. And all Bostonians for an entire year, the only words that was just hurting them throughout that year were Aaron bleepin' Boone. Number 2, the 2003 New York Yankees. Now, I know what some people are probably thinking right now. Why don't I have the 2001 New York Yankees team on this list? Well, I'm going to say a couple things here right now. 1, it's my list and it's my choices. 2, I hate the New York Yankees. I hate the Yankees. But the fact of the matter was, I knew I was going to have to put one of their teams on this list. So, I chose the '03 Yankees for this special reason here. This was their 100th anniversary, the franchise's 100th anniversary, as well as the 100th anniversary of the World Series. As I mentioned with my past two choices on here, with the Cubs and the Red Sox, I mean, there was the potential of having an epic World Series in 2003. For the 100th anniversary, it would have been something special. And we ended up with a matchup between the Yankees and the Marlins. And the thing, with the Yankees, I respect that franchise. The fact that they're the winningest franchise in all of Major League Baseball, I mean, I have to at least show love to that much of them. And they had a great squad that year. Granted, they were up against a pretty good Marlins squad as well, but still, it was just, my goodness. I still could not believe that Yankee team lost in 6. So that's why I had to put this Yankee squad, the '03 Yankees, here on this list. Number 1, the 1991 Atlanta Braves. The 1991 World Series is considered by many to be one of the greatest World Series in baseball history. This matchup between the Braves and the Minnesota Twins was an epic 7-game series, in which 5 of the matchups ended with a margin of just 1 run. In fact, Game 7 was an awesome pitcher's duel, which finished 1-0 in favor of the Twins in the 10th inning. I mean, and this, granted, this was a miracle team the Braves had going through it. This was the first year of their decade. This was the first team of their decade of being one of the best teams in baseball. But still, the 91 World Series, the 91 Braves, that's to me, that's the number 1 team that should have won the World Series. So that's my list. So, what did you all think of this list? Share with me your thoughts and your comments below. Also, check out my Facebook page. See what things I'm talking about in the world of sports and anime. See what else I got going on. Follow me on Twitter. That's going to be coming soon. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep up to date with all my latest videos and all things about sports and anime on here. So until next time, I'll catch y'all later.
Today is the day that I am going.